Close your eyes for a moment and imagine the life of a global music superstar. Stadiums filled with screaming fans, millions of followers online, private jets flying across continents, awards, fame, money, and influence beyond imagination. For most people, the music industry represents the ultimate dream, a world where talent is rewarded and artists rise to the top through creativity and passion. But what if that dream only shows one side of the story? What if behind the lights, the tours, and the hit songs, there is a system that is far more complicated than most fans realize? Welcome to Silent Truth Docs. Today we're exploring the dark side of the music industry that many artists have warned about for decades. To understand the modern music industry, we first need to understand how powerful it really is. Music is not just entertainment. It is one of the most influential cultural forces in the world. Songs shape emotions, political movements, fashion trends, and entire generations of culture. A single hit song can reach hundreds of millions of listeners across the planet. Because of that influence, the music business has become a multi-billion-dollar industry, controlled by powerful companies, executives, and networks. But when artists first enter this world, many of them are young, ambitious, and inexperienced with the business side of music. A talented singer might spend years performing in small clubs or uploading songs online. Then suddenly, a record label offers them a contract. For many artists, that moment feels like the dream finally coming true. But the details inside those contracts often reveal a very different reality. Record label contracts can be extremely complex. Some agreements last for many years and cover multiple albums. In many cases, the label pays for recording, marketing, and promotion. But in return, the company receives ownership of the master recordings, which are the original versions of the artist's songs. This means the label often controls how those songs are used, distributed, or licensed for films, commercials, and streaming services. The artist may receive royalties, but the company still owns the core recording. Many musicians later realized that signing away their masters was one of the most important decisions of their careers. One of the most famous artists to fight against this system was Prince. During the 1990s, Prince became locked in a major dispute with his record label over control of his music. At one point, he even changed his stage name to an unpronounceable symbol and appeared in public with the word "slave" written across his face. Prince believed that record labels often treated artists as products rather than creators. He spent years advocating for musicians to own their own recordings and control their creative output. Today, many artists consider Prince one of the earliest voices warning about the business practices inside the music industry. Decades later, the issue of music ownership exploded into global headlines again, when pop superstar Taylor Swift revealed that her early master recordings had been sold to another company without her approval. Swift explained that because she did not own those recordings, she had no control over how they were used. In response, she began re-recording many of her albums so that she could regain ownership of her own music. Her decision sparked massive discussion across the industry and educated millions of fans about how music ownership actually works. But contracts and ownership battles are only one part of the darker side of the music business. Another issue that many artists speak about is pressure. Fame may look glamorous from the outside, but maintaining that level of attention can be extremely difficult. Once an artist becomes successful, the expectations surrounding them grow enormously. Record labels expect new albums. Fans expect tours. Media outlets expect interviews and appearances. Suddenly, a musician who once wrote songs alone in a bedroom is now responsible for supporting an entire team of managers, agents, producers, and corporate partners. The pressure to remain successful can become overwhelming. Several artists have spoken publicly about the emotional toll of fame. The constant spotlight can make even simple mistakes become global headlines. One of the most well-known examples is Britney Spears. In the late 1990s and early 2000s, Britney Spears became one of the biggest pop stars in the world. Her music dominated charts, her concerts sold out arenas, and her public image became one of the most recognizable in entertainment. But intense media attention followed her every move. Every relationship, every outfit, every personal moment became a topic for television and magazines. Eventually, the pressure appeared to take a serious toll on her mental health. In 2008, Spears was placed under a legal conservatorship that gave control of many aspects of her life and finances to others. For years, fans questioned whether the arrangement was fair or necessary. The situation led to the global Free Britney movement, where millions of supporters demanded that she regain control of her life. In 2021, after years of legal battles and public discussion, the conservatorship ended. The case raised huge questions about how powerful systems can control the lives of artists who appear to have everything. Another example of the darker pressures of fame is Kurt Cobain. Cobain was the lead singer of Nirvana and became one of the most influential voices of the 1990s grunge movement. When Nirvana released the album Nevermind in 1991, the band suddenly exploded into worldwide fame. Songs like Smells Like Teen Spirit became anthems for an entire generation, but Cobain often expressed discomfort with celebrity culture. He struggled with the sudden attention and the expectations placed on him by both the media and the music industry. In 1994, Kurt Cobain died at the age of 27. His death shocked the world and led many fans to question the pressures faced by young artists who achieve enormous fame almost overnight. Cobain's death also placed him among a group of legendary musicians often referred to as the 27 Club. This informal group includes several iconic artists who died at the age of 27, including Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, Jim Morrison, and later Amy Winehouse. Each of these musicians left behind powerful musical legacies, but their early deaths also fueled decades of speculation and mystery. While there is no proven connection between these cases, the pattern has fascinated fans and researchers for years. Another major mystery in music history involves Tupac Shakur. Tupac was not only a rapper, but also a cultural icon who spoke openly about social inequality, politics, and life in America. In 1996, Tupac was shot while riding in a car in Las Vegas. He died several days later in a hospital. For decades, the case remained unsolved, creating countless theories about what really happened. Even today, Tupac's influence remains enormous, and the mystery surrounding his death continues to spark discussion among fans around the world. The darker side of the music industry also includes the concentration of power among a small number of companies. Today, only a few major record labels dominate the global music market. These companies control distribution, marketing, and promotion for thousands of artists. Because of this, they play a huge role in determining which songs become popular and which artists receive global exposure. In the past, radio stations were one of the main ways songs reached audiences. Record labels invested enormous resources into radio promotion. In the modern era, streaming platforms like Spotify, Apple Music, and YouTube have changed the landscape. Artists can now release music independently and reach listeners directly online. However, playlists and algorithm recommendations still play a huge role in determining which songs become hits. Another long-standing criticism of the music business is financial fairness. Many musicians have said that artists often earn far less than the companies distributing their work. In the early days of rock and roll, several pioneering musicians signed contracts that paid them very little compared to the money their songs generated. Little Richard, one of the founders of rock music, later said that he earned far less money than the record companies that profited from his music. Stories like this highlight how important business knowledge is for artists entering the industry. Even today, debates continue about how much artists should earn from streaming platforms. A song may receive millions of streams but still generate relatively small payouts compared to physical album sales in previous decades. Because of this, many musicians rely heavily on touring, merchandise, and sponsorship deals to support their careers. Despite all these challenges, the power of music remains undeniable. Music can inspire social movements, connect cultures, and express emotions that words alone cannot describe. Artists continue to push boundaries, challenge systems, and reshape the industry with new ideas. Independent musicians now have tools that previous generations never had. Social media, streaming platforms, and direct fan support allow artists to build careers without traditional gatekeepers. Many musicians are now choosing to remain independent, controlling their own recordings and business decisions. This shift could slowly change the balance of power in the music world. But the industry remains one of the most complex and influential cultural machines on the planet. It creates legends, shapes, trends, and writes the soundtrack of entire generations. Behind every hit song is not just talent, but also contracts, negotiations, and business decisions that most fans never see. The stage lights might shine brightly, but the story behind the spotlight is often far more complicated than it appears. And that raises an important question. Is the music industry simply a tough business like any other billion-dollar industry? Or are there still hidden stories behind the fame that the public rarely gets to hear? This has been Silent Truth Talks. If you enjoy uncovering the mysteries, hidden histories, and untold stories behind the world's biggest industries and legends, make sure to subscribe to Silent Truth Talks so you never miss our next documentary. And now we want to hear from you. Do you think the music industry protects artists or controls them?